Globespan is a Guyanese dialogue moving towards the realization of one nation in one Guyana. It's a platform that offers an all-inclusive discussion with the pros, the cons, the ones that have taken a side, and the ones that stand in the middle. Globespan believes agreeing and disagreeing are part of the nation building. Globespan believes that every Guyanese voice is part of the nation building. As we span the globe for voices from the diaspora and those living home, we stand on our commitment that we are all Guyanese working towards one nation in one Guyana. This land is our land now. As the world turns on its axis, bringing changes, we as Guyanese must adapt to those changes for a better Guyana for all. Globespan stands on its axis with its belief that one nation, one Guyana, one destiny must include voices from all corners of Guyana.
Good evening, everyone, and to all our listeners and sponsors, thanks for joining us today on Globespan Television Live. We're broadcasting live from New York, and we hope that you'll join us as time goes by. Globespan Television has been brought to you by Mr. Noir Singh and by Mr. Devin Bissoon and Mr. Ryan Gobin, our two technical directors. Mr. Noir Singh is the CEO of the company. And as you know, Globespan is always a fair and balanced network. And we broadcast, or we can be heard or picked up on Facebook, YouTube, and all the other social networks. So thanks for joining us. Tonight, our topic will be on third parties, the impending elections, ANUG, and why it joined with WIN as Arundin Mohammed's party. We have tonight as our special guest, Dr. Mark France. Dr. France has been the chairman of ANUG, and he has been, since becoming the chairman, I think he will explain to you the several changes he made over the past year or so. So with that said, I will tell you as well that we can be heard in the Caribbean, in Guyana, in Latin America, and the entire world. We span the globe, you know. And we believe that all voices should be heard, whether we agree or disagree. Globespan also believes that one Guyana in one Guyana, and offer all inclusive discussions on the pros and cons of various topics. So we invite all the members from all the 22 parties to join us at any time. They can give us a call and we'll book them and provide a meeting for them here. So if those are listening out there, all the members of the 22 parties, just call us at Globespan and we'll get you on the program at any time before the election. We have enough time to go. Thank you very much. Now, as I said, I have Dr. Mark France here tonight, and he's our guest, and he will tell us all about what's going on the ground in Guyana with his party and his views on the impending elections. Dr. France, I don't know if you came on Globespan before, but if you do, I don't think you came on this Monday night show. So for our listening audience, could you tell them who you are or give us a little background of yourself, please?
Good night to you, Dr. Rose. I can't remember if it was a Monday or a Wednesday night, but I did share the program with you. But there's no harm in reintroducing myself. For those persons who are tuning in, my name is Dr. Mark France. I'm a medical doctor by profession. I work with the Ministry of Health. I am stationed at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. I have been with the Ministry of Health from 2013 to now, continuous years of service. I also an avid sports fan. I love sports. If I could have chosen the next profession, it would have been sports analytics. Unfortunately, in Guyana, we don't have the terms of remuneration for these professions as yet, and that is something that we will be looking at in our manifesto. That will be launched quite soon, the team. But I am currently the chair man of the new and united Guyana, one of the political parties founded in 2019 by some senior persons, Mr. Frank Moran, Mr. Timothy Jonas, etc. That party has, for the 2025 elections, decided via an executive majority to team up with the We Invest in Nationhood group. And as such, we are having a collaboration with Team Win, whereby we're part of the team that is going to make a huge difference in Guyanese politics. If anyone would not have seen myself in the political arena, maybe we haven't paid enough attention or our traction was not enough as a group, then I'm certain that going forward from today, more persons will be seen of Dr. France, especially for the 2025 election cycle. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Very, very good. Very, very brief. Tell us something about the public hospital in Georgetown. Has services improved tremendously over the past 2 or 3 years? And in what areas? This is not supposed to be the topic, but since a lot of people query about the public hospitals and try to give them a rating vis-a-vis the private hospitals. So tell us something about the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation.
Tremendously is maybe not the right adjective to describe service at the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation. But yes, in the entire Ministry of Health, we have seen some improvements in service that has been given to the public. For example, we have had many training programs that have been started for doctors and other healthcare professionals to improve on their competency and their qualifications. I can tell you for sure that there are a number of postgraduate programs that are run by the University of Guyana in collaboration with the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation that we are now producing specialists right inside our country in some of the major areas. For example, we have started master's residencies in internal medicine, internal infectious disease, general surgery, pediatrics, lately neurosurgery, and a couple of other fields. I mean, I mentioned human and family medicine. So we are now producing persons who are more qualified than just the normal general practitioners, as they're known, or general medical government medical officers, as we call them here in Guyana. But healthcare and the service that is provided, it doesn't just depend on the qualifications of doctors, nurses, etc. It is very important to have allied health very much involved in having the right quantities. We have seen calls from none other than the CEO of the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation that there is a critical shortage of over 600 nurses just for the GPHC. The government has implemented programs that are looking to boost the number of nurses and other healthcare professionals, but it's not enough. Now, we have seen in Guyana healthcare, a lot of infrastructural work is being done. So, for example, we have 6 big hospitals that are coming up across the region. The major issue with this is even though we're having facilities, again, human resources is the major bugbear. I can give an example right away that you can think about. Radiology, the service that looks at all the imaging in terms of ultrasound, in terms of CT scans, in terms of MRI. When you go out to these outlying hospitals, for example, in Saudi, you have 1 radiologist. Now that radiologist has to be on 24/7, 7 days a week. In Region 3, we have 2 radiologists that are basically doing the work. In Region 4, the Diamond Hospital, we have 2 radiologists, meaning you're on 1 every 2 days. At the Georgetown Hospital, because we have the residency program, you have a bit more. At the Enmore Hospital, which was recently opened, we have 1 radiologist who they expect to do all the work. Same thing with Amsterdam and the one that is going to be opening 6 to 5, and so far none for the Bath Hospital. We have seen calls by the regions whereby, just looking at doctors, the shortfall is about 40, 50 doctors to run each of these hospitals. And in the region themselves, you already have quite a huge shortfall. So we need to ensure that we focus on training, not only doctors, nurses, medical technologists, lab staff, imaging staff, and all the other ancillary staff that needs to function, but also ensuring that we keep those that we have trained. So, for example, we have seen a huge exodus of our nurses, which are highly sought after by the first world countries, US, England, Canada, the Caribbean itself. And they go there because the remuneration package is much better. And if we don't find smart ways and means to keep our in-house nurses then we will continue with the same problem that we faced for the longest while, whereby we lose our best because who are we losing? The ones that have finished their 3 years of contract or may have worked 5 years. Those are the most senior healthcare staff that we're losing. And bringing out newbies, bringing in foreigners to work. For example, we have brought in a lot of Cubans. We have seen some Indian nationals coming in, and I know the government is currently in pursuit of other nurses and other healthcare staff from around the world. But that takes time for them to get into the system. The Spanish-speaking nurses and other staff, even the doctors, for example, it takes them about a year before they can fully get into understanding the Guyanese population, understanding the Guyanese dialect and the Guyanese language. And so there is still a shortfall. So we have to ensure that we treasure those that are here right now. And that is something that Team WIN and the manifesto policies that we have in place will be looking to address, keeping those that we have, ensuring that they're remunerated as much as possible, as well as possible, and see how best we can keep them here.
Very good. So you're saying that nurses are drifting away from the hospitals here in Guyana. Is it because of low payment or because of they believe the pastures overseas are greener than those in Guyana?
It's a combination of factors, but the most important is that here they're overworked. Here they're overworked, they're overtaxed, they're not given as much respect as they're supposed to, but mostly because of the remuneration. So a typical nurse here, for example, would earn somewhere around $150,000 to $200,000, and that is when you count in their overtime. Whereby if you go out, the recruitment agencies are offering $1,500, $2,000, if not $3,000 US dollars right away. The nurses that just land, and they provide housing accommodation for them. So nurses are able to go overseas. Yes, they have to give up the comforts of their home, but they're able to go overseas, live in small apartments, save, and send back to their families here. That is one of the main reasons. And it is critical for Guyanese to know that it is the most experience that we are losing always. It is not the newbies who just graduated, the nursing assistants, the RNs who just graduated. We are losing our best and most experienced nurses. We cannot allow that to continue.
Thank you very much for that information. Folks, you're listening to Globespan Television live. Tonight, our guest, as I said to you, is Dr. Mark Franz. He's the chairman of ANUG, a UN United Guyana party. Dr. Franz, was ANUG the first political party you joined, or you were a member of another party before?
ANUG is the first party I would have joined. I'm very interested in politics. I'm very interested in international relations, in whatever is happening internationally. That has always been, if I can say, my thing. In 2006, before I went to study in Cuba, the AFC had just launched, and the AFC had quite a groundswell, and I was very, very supportive of the AFC in 2006. I can remember doing some work for them, even though not an official member, spreading their messages, going out and get young people involved. Unfortunately, in Cuba from 2006 to 2013, I was not part of the actual elections that we had in 2011, and then I came back in 2013. But we have seen, and I saw a drift in terms of the policies that the AFC stood for after the 2011 government, when they had a chance to make a real change with a minority government. We saw them teaming up, and I even supported them when they teamed up with the ANUG, because Guyana wanted to see a change. We needed a change. We wanted to give another group a chance. After 23 years of the PPP, things have gotten stale, and the weight of the incumbency, the corruption that we saw, the high-handedness that we saw in the PPP, it's something quite unusual when you have governments in place for too long. So I would have supported the ANUG AFC in 2015, hoping that a change would have occurred. Sadly, it did not. And in 2018, after the no confidence motion, I was left with a choice. Who should I support? So I started listening, and I started having conversations with persons from all of the political parties, the PPP, the PNC, the AFC, and with some of the new groupings that were being formed. Of all of the parties, the one that gravitated the most towards what I think Guyana needed, it was a new and united Guyana. When I listened to the options that were being put forward by Dr. Henry Jeffrey with regard to a Swiss model of governance, this is the first time I heard about such thing, the rotational governance system that is in Switzerland in the canton. When I listened to the work that Timothy Jonas, that Mr. Ralph Rampuran were putting in, I became drawn towards this party. And as such, I joined in late 2019 after they would have started officially. When they had a steering committee that was formed, I became a part of that steering committee. And then I became a part of the official executive committee as an executive member. Since then, ANUG has been my only party that I have been a part of. I rose to the ranks of chairperson 2 years ago. I served as chairman of ANUG with Timothy Jonas as my general secretary. Then I took a break, a 1 year hiatus from the executive for personal reasons. I had some personal matters that I needed looking into, but more so, I wanted to see growth and direction in ANUG, especially regarding the 2025 election. I can remember having conversations with the then leader and telling him, none other Mr. Jonas, that we have to decide where we are going in 2025. We have to decide the role of ANUG in 2025. We have to decide who will be our leader, our presidential candidate in 2025. We cannot continue to kick the can down the road with regard to whether or not our topmost leaders are able to effectively lead ANUG in Parliament. And so that is why I took a 1 year hiatus. When I came back, I was a member, just a regular member of the party. But last year, around last year, June, July, August, I had serious conversations with members of ANUG, with members of the executive. And for me, the decision of what ANUG did in 2025 would have a lasting impact with regard to what ANUG is going forward into the future. And so when I put my hand up for nomination for all of the roles, but more so the principal role of chairperson or leader of the party, it was not a decision that was taken lightly. It was a decision that was based on consultations with the membership of ANUG, especially with those who were in the executive. At our internal elections in November of 2024, we had Dr. Mark Frantz running unchallenged for the chairmanship. And so we had a new executive committee in November, at November the 30th. That was when we had our internal elections. Of this new executive, we saw senior persons in the party deciding not to take up effective roles on the executive. The previous immediate previous chair, Ian Jabor, the immediate previous Gen Sec, Mr. Timothy Jonas, Mr. Ralph Rampran, who had taken more or less of a break from active politics, Ms. Nadia Segar, the wife of Timothy Jonas, and Ms. Althea King, our presumptive representative to Parliament. So we had senior members of ANUG who decided to take a step back and decide to give others a chance. Now, those who supported me on that executive, right, as Guyanese say, they had my back. And I was very, very secure in that this executive that we had was supportive of myself as chair and of the decisions that we were going to make with regard to elections in 2025. Now, it is very important to note that ANUG is one of the few political parties that have stuck to our word and have internal elections as per our constitution. I know a lot of parties have had delays. We've seen delays in the PPPC holding their internal elections. We've seen delays in the PNC holding their internal elections. We've also seen issues with regard to the holding of elections at the PNC. ANUG has stood to its word, and maybe because we have a smaller level of support in terms of membership, it is easier to run off an internal election. But we have done things by the book, and we have always been a democratic institution. And as such, the views of the members, the views of everyone is well respected, but more so, it is the executive that always have the ultimate say in formulating policy decisions for ANUG, and that will not change.
By the way, on the lighter side, you have a very beautiful background there, picturesque, with the land being but plowed or something. Where is that? What part is that in Guyana?
That is the east bank of Berbice. For those of you who don't know me, I am from the upper Berbice River Sandhills. That's halfway to Kokwani. If you're going from New Amsterdam, it takes about 2 hours with the boat. And I live, my official address that is in New Amsterdam. So I'm a Region 6 person. And of course, when you go in Region 6 and you drive along the East Bank Public Road, which is a lot better now than it was in the past, you're able to see such beautiful scenery. All right, so this is one of the pictures that I took, and of course, I made it my background on my Zoom interface.
Very beautiful. I'm a Barbician too, so we have 2 Barbicians here. Okay, since becoming the chairman of ANUG, What changes have you made to improve the party's image or broaden its image countrywide?
Our decision in having this new executive was to bring or birth new life into ANUG. So a lot of what we've done is trying to reach out to newer, younger members to get on board with ANUG. Now, politics is about timing, and it is very important that what you do has a lot to do with the times. In an election year, in the run-up to election, persons, especially younger population, is very interested in politics, and we have to make the most of this. Now, with regard to elections 2025, we at the executive deliberated for months on what way we will go forward, looking at our human resources that we have available, looking at our financial resources that we have available, looking at the support that we have from the membership of ANUG and the broader Guyanese public. We had to make critical decisions. One of those decisions, and the most important decision, is that, and I have always been about this, third party politics, working together with like-minded groupings in the best interest of not only ANUG, but the Guyanese population. And I'm going to share something because I need to clarify something here. In 2020, in the run-up to the 2020 elections, I was probably the most vociferous executive of ANUG that looked to bring third parties together for the elections. I championed the cause for us to try to work with the LJP, the TNM, Change Guyana, TCI, the Fed Up grouping. And I'm going to come back to the Fed Up grouping because I saw a comment from none other than Mr. Chandra Sohan in one of the chats that come in quite recently. We met numerous occasions with Mr. Sohan and the Fed Up grouping, Mr. Ryan Crawford, a famous lawyer who, or infamous, as some may consider him for an incident. We had numerous meetings whereby we tried to get Fed Up and ANUG working together going into the elections. Up to nomination day 2020, I was with Fed Up looking to get the requisite signatures for us to work together. Unfortunately, that was unable to happen. And Mr. Sohan mentioned in the group that, oh, ANUG would have used some of the signatures they would have gotten. Now, the chairman of ANUG then was none other than Mr. Timothy Jonas, who is a well-learned lawyer. And based on our understanding, having worked together in the run-up to the elections, going out as a group in ANUG Fed Up, looking to get signatures to back us in the regions. We took part in 7 regions. We felt that we were entitled in that moment to share of some of that work that was done together. Now, after we were unable to, and the main reason why we were unable to put together a slate, it was because most of the signatures that were collected on the ANUG itself before that partnership. And it was not ANUG Fed Up. And as such, when you go into an election, your symbol, which was very important, would have said ANUG for the majority and not ANUG Fed Up. And so there was some discrepancy there. And after we did not have enough in terms of for the ANUG Fed Up grouping, ANUG, because it was late, it was even up to nomination day, we decided to go alone in that moment. The Fed Up leaders thought that ANUG had given them the short end of the straw. And I think there is some amount of feelings that is still carried there by Mr. Sohan and possibly others. I myself would have reached out to them and have always been cordial with all of the leaders from the parties that we tried working together with. Mr. Lennox Schumann, Dr. Ashley Kisoon, Ms. Rhonda Lamb and the team at the Citizenship Initiative, Mr. Sohan and the others at Fed Up. Because for me, third party politics and unified third parties is the way to go. And I still think that is. We are looking for a unified third force. Now, if you look at the numbers, ANUG, the LJP and TNM formed a historic joint agreement whereby we were able to combine our votes at the count. In doing so, we had a seat due to us having the largest remainder votes, a seat which had a lot of controversies in it. But more importantly, of the other smaller parties, there was about 5,000 more votes that went to third parties. Now, if all of those parties had come together, Dr. Rose, that would have been 10,000 votes. You would have been guaranteed one seat and you would have gotten the largest remainder. So in 2020, if third parties had come together, we would have had a minority government. And there is so much that can be done with a minority government, so much that should have been done with the minority government, especially one that respects the will of the people, that is working in the best interest of the people, and not like the minority government that we had in 2011, whereby persons just opposed for opposition's sake, or because they had a personal grievance or vendetta with those who were in charge. So in 2025, all of the things that I mentioned that we looked at, our human resources, our financial resources, leadership, the support from the membership, the support from senior persons within ANUG, we at the executive level decided that it was best to explore avenues and options of working with other third groupings. And those were the conversations we had. We met with a number of smaller parties, a number of individuals, even the larger parties. We reached out to everyone, including the PPPC, who I think their response was like, they treated us as, oh, we just wanted to meet with them for a show. That was the exact response that we got back from the PPPC. We're still open to meeting with them because we believe that if you want to take Guyana forward, there must be dialogue with each and every political party and each and every grouping that is out there. Of the parties that we met with, the one that had a lot of similarities, the one that offered the best possibility of success at the 2025 election was the grouping with Mr. Mohammed as the leader. And so we had robust conversations at our executive level. Now, teaming up with it was not the win, it was Team Mohammed's the group, we were having discussions with them. Teaming up with Team Mohammed is not something that was done lightly. We had consultations ad nauseum amongst our executive level members. We even asked of our founding members their views on a possible collaboration. Mr. Ralph Ramcharan, Dr. Henry Jeffrey, Ian Jabor, Mr. Jonathan Yearwood, some of these who were not even members anymore of ANUG, but because of where we came from as a party, because of what we stood for as a party, Timothy Jonas, his wife, Ms. Nadia Segar, we got certain responses that it's kept at the executive level. It's not to go out there. Of course, you don't throw what is it that happens in a political party. You try to keep it within the party. And we respected the views of each and every member, especially the founding members that we got. But we know that ultimately any decision made in terms of policy directive should be made by the incumbent executive of ANUG. And so we had long discussions, we had robust discussions, we had dissenting views right within our executive because some persons decided that we should not go along this route, while the majority decided that in the best interest of ANUG, in the best interest of third-party politics, this was the most logical step to take. And so the majority of the executive decided that we should team up with Team Mohammed's, which later became Team Win. And so on that historic night, after having deliberations with everyone, we signed an agreement that came to be known as the Win ANUG collaboration.
Thank you for that answer. Let me go back to something that happened to ANUG. ANUG was involved in a joinder with the Liberal and Justice Party, led by Mr. Lennox Schumann, and another party, I don't remember his name, but led by Ms. Dr. Asha Kissoon. Now, the three parties were supposed to serve as members of parliaments. Schumann, I think, served 2 years. Kissoon, because the party just had under 500 votes, supposed to serve 3 months. And then ANUG would have served the remaining 2.5 years or something of the sort. I think Mr. Schumann served 2.5 years. Dr. Kissoon went into parliament and she never wanted to give up the seat. What steps were taken by ANUG to force her out of there after the 3-month period?
This is something that I have expounded and explained, but it's always good to refresh the memory of the Guyanese and the wider world. In February February, March of 2020, we signed a historic joint agreement. A new United Guyana, the Liberty and Justice Party, and the New Movement. We decided that in the interest of having the best result at elections 2020, we should combine our votes at the count. It means that all three of these parties would have had to make it tough, the elections, in terms of the general elections. So you would have had to get the requirements to take part in general elections. Now, our agreement that was signed, and I recently made it public because there were a lot of statements from Dr. Ash Kissoon of late with regard to our joint agreement and the callousness which she showed in dismissing that which was wrong, which she did, and saying that it is politics and not church, shows quite a lot about the young doctor. Now, the arrangements were, and it was based on our interpretation of Section 25 of ROPA, how a joint agreement can share a seat in the event that you're unable to win a seat on your own. We believe that, and that was from the executive, which included senior lawyers at that time, Mr. Ralph Ramtornesi, Timothy Jonas, Nadia Sagar, and a whole lot of other lawyers in our membership. We believe that a seat could have been rotated. Now, when you speak about a joinder of lists, you have a combination of separate lists with separate representatives of the list, separate deputy representative lists and leaders of the different political parties. Our agreement stipulated that the party, if we win a seat that is combined, the party with the largest vote will go into parliament first and spend a time proportional to the amount of votes that they get when you check it out of a percentage of 5 years, which is generally the lifespan of the party. And so Mr. Schuman went first. His time was 2.5 months thereabouts.
2.5 years, 2.5 years, I mean.
2.5 years.
Yeah.
ANUG was supposed to go second. We had 2313 votes. And the TNM party, of which Dr. Asha Kissoon was the leader, was supposed to go third. Now, Dr. Kissoon, I saw her mentioning recently on a newsroom program that ANUG begged her to go second. It could not be anything further from the truth. And that says a lot about the doctor. Dr. Kissoon begged of ANUG if TNM can go second, because in the event of a snap election or in the event of the term being shorter than the 5 years, TNM would not have a chance to be in parliament. Now, I was the chair of ANUG in 2023 when these negotiations were being had. And I believe that a young female leader, fellow healthcare professional, someone who swore to the Hippocratic Oath, would be someone who would represent the Guyanese people, someone who will help third party, and someone who can be a leader that women and young girls can look up to. Now, ANUG had some defined positions. We told Dr. Kissoon that based on our agreement, ANUG would not be taking up the deputy speaker's position, and we don't believe that TNM should take up the deputy speaker's position, which should go to the largest opposition. Dr. Kissoon was in agreement with saying, when we signed on to Dr. Kissoon going into parliament, it was with the knowledge that she and her party, which had had issues with the representative and deputy representative of their list, TNM's list, Dr. Gerald Ford and Dr. Josh Kanai, that they had adequately replaced those representatives with a new representative of their list, one Mr. Kenrick Morgan. Now, it is for GCOM to ensure that procedure and due diligence is adhered to and done with regard to changing of any representative of any list. That is spelled out clearly in ROPA what must be done. So when Dr. Kissoon went in, it was because she had the conversations with ANUG, and we decided, I would say in a bit of naivety as a young party, more so under my leadership as chair, to allow her to go second. But I should have known that in politics, everything is not 1 + 1 = 2. And persons will have their own way of thinking and their own agenda. And that was reflected by none other than Dr. Kissoon. 2 things she did. The first thing that she did, she reneged on a promise that we said, okay, if you're going here, because she was looking to come on board the ANUG. She even had signed up a membership form to be a part of ANUG. But because she was going as TNM, she could not have enacted it. She could not have been a part of ANUG. The plan was for Ashley Kisun and team to come and join ANUG after she would have finished her 91 days, which was the time that the 244 votes gave her in Parliament. So she was going, and I'm going to mention this. Based on our understanding, Mr. Lennox Schumann was supposed to come out halfway in March, around the 14th, 15th. That was the timing. Mr. Schumann asked of ANUG, who were supposed to go second, for him to have that little extension, that 2 weeks to take him to the end of March, so that he can collect the salary of March. This is something that Guyana must know. And I saw Dr. Ashley Kisun saying the other day that TNM gave Mr. Schumann an extension. That could not be farther from the truth. And that is how this person is. We allowed Mr. Schumann to extend his time into the 31st of March so that he can get the salary, no problem. We told Dr. Ashley Kisun that, okay, since we're allowing you to go, since you want to come on board with ANUG, our policy is that whomever goes to Parliament, 20% of what you get in the seat must come back to ANUG. And Ashley Kisun agreed to such. We have not seen a cent of the monies that Dr. Ashley Kisun has gotten by virtue of being in that seat. But more so, our agreement that whomever goes there will not accept the Deputy Speaker's position if offered by the government. Right away, Dr. Ashley Kisun made her deal with the PPP and accepted the Deputy Speaker's position. So the amusement of Anna, because we were like, look, right away, this person is in relation to what she has promised. But more so, she has no respect for the larger opposition, who we felt and still feel should have gotten that position by virtue of the number of votes that they have gotten in terms of the population supporting them. Now, what we later learned, because at the time of the change, we had agreed that, okay, you go and spend your 91 days, April, May, June. So sometime in June, your time would be up, June 2023. But again, being the good Samaritans we are at ANUG, and again, being naive as a political group and under my leadership, we told Dr. Kisun, okay, we can think based on your performance. And we had a live press conference where this was explained, that we may allow you to go up to the parliamentary break, which is sometime in August, generally. And so coming out of the recess in October, ANUG will come out with our member going into Parliament. The member that had been selected by ANUG was one young Miss Althea King. Dr. Kisun decided, and according to her, this is something that was planned, to not come out. But more importantly, we later learned that the representative of the list who chose to extract Dr. Kisun's name from TNM, that procedure was not in keeping with what ROPA stipulates. And I'm going to give the Guyanese public exactly what happened. If your representative of the list, your deputy representative of the list is unable to, because they would have left the party, they would have resigned, they want no other dealings with the party, as was the case with the TNM, then the party is able to replace them by virtue of having more than half of their members on their list asking of GCOM to replace those representatives. Now, what is clear is that when Dr. Ford and Dr. Judge Kanai resigned from TNM, they never resigned their positions as rep and deputy rep of TNM's list. ANUG, on the other hand, we had the experience of none other than our representative of our list, Mr. Jonathan Yearwood, resigning. But if you know my friend Jonathan Yearwood, this is a man of principle. This is a man of respect. So when he resigned from ANUG, he sent in a letter to GCOM stating that he's also resigning from the position of representative of the list of ANUG. And as such, Dr. Mark Brands, who was the deputy representative of the list, was now elevated to be the representative of the list.
Okay.
GCOM,
Okay,
let me just finish.
I think you spent enough time explaining that.
Yeah, I just want to explain one more thing. GCOM, for you to replace your representative of the list, needs 22 signatures from your list of candidates. The documentation that I have seen, and this is with my own eyes, is that Dr. Kisun would have given 8 names, 8 signatures in her replacement document. And of the 8, because I know the gazetted persons who are there from her list of candidates. Of the 8, 2 persons were not even on the list. So that was insufficient, but that is GCOM's fault. And so they have allowed someone to illegally extract someone to parliament. They have known about this because they have come and said that, yes, the documentation is not enough, but they have not corrected it. And today, when I shook the hands of Madam Chairperson of GCOM, this is something that I always remember.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that explanation. So what you have said there in a nutshell, that Dr. Asha Kissoon did not follow the enjoinders list protocols. She's overstayed in Parliament. But as you know, Lord Acton, the British philosopher, said it rightly: power corrupts absolutely, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So I guess power, she got the power, she didn't want to give it up, and that's the situation. Now let me go back to you joining with WIN. WIN is We Invest in Guyana, Mr. Azarundin Mohammed's party. And in doing so, 2 of your senior members resigned. That's Mr. Timothy Jonas and the founder and leader of the party as well, one of the founder and leader of the party, Mr. Ralph Ramkaran. Did they resign because you went and joined with ANUG, or they want to leave politics altogether? And if so, are you still in communication with them?
The resignation of Mr. Timothy Jonas and Mr. Ralph Ramkaran, both senior counsels, after our having signed on to with the We Invest in Nationhood grouping, came as a surprise. Not because we have an explanation for their resignation, the manner in which it was done. So I have huge respect for both gentlemen. I received personally a WhatsApp message from Mr. Ramkaran stating that he is resigning, and his explanation in that WhatsApp message was that if he is still with ANUG, it would be seen as him supporting this move. So obviously, he don't want to be seen as supporting it. But when we went out and asked if we should work along with Team Mohammed's, right, the answer was no. And I can't explain the reason, because that is for ANUG's executive to know in that moment. So he was one of the persons that we contacted. Mr. Jonas, in a comment that he later shared on his Facebook profile, just said he's resigning from ANUG. Now, both gentlemen and some others who resigned afterwards exercise their democratic right, and we respect that. We respect the right of each and any individual in Guyana, but more so of ANUG, to have that democratic right of freedom of expression, of freedom of association, and to support whichever grouping they want to support. Now, whether or not it's a political choice, whether or not it's because of the possibilities of what they may see as their businesses, because these are 2 gentlemen who have businesses being affected, that is for them to tell the Guyanese public, and I do hope one day they will. But as far as we know, 2 members resigned. We respect their decision. We thank them for the work that they have put in, and they're welcome to rejoin ANUG anytime if they like, if they want to get on board.
Great. Now, you joined with WIN. Now, you explain the reasons why you joined with WIN, because you believe it's the preference and to promote the interests of not one party or 2 parties, but that of the Guyanese people. In fairness to you and in fairness to Mr. Mohammed, WIN has not come up with a platform of what the party stands for. Do you know the reason for that? Or do you know if they do have a platform of which they intend to campaign on?
We at ANUG, because of where we're coming from, would never sign on to any agreement if we don't know what is it that you have to offer Guyana. And so we are privy to internal discussions as part of the WIN grouping. What is it that WIN will offer to the Guyanese people? And we saw policies that will be implemented based on if we have success or when we have success, that will be for the betterment of the Guyanese people. Now I can tell you, there is a summarized version of WIN's manifesto that is almost complete. We're undergoing some revision. None of the major parties have actually put out a manifesto document there, inclusive of the incumbent government. So we already have a summarized version. Because every time we go out and meet with people and hear their issues, if there's anything new, we try to get it addressed in the manifesto document on a whole. We have an overarching view of what we want for Guyana, and our official manifesto will reveal same, because it is not just a simple document. Manifestos are something that you put a lot of energy and thought in, because you want to show where exactly you're going as a country. But more so, members who have joined the WIN grouping and had a chance to look at some of those ideas and policies that we have from our manifesto believe in that document. And when you see senior persons coming on board and mentioning that, yes, what is in the manifesto is important for the Guyanese people, and speaking of what is inside there, like Ms. Dawn Hastings, who would have recently joined as former Minister of State, that shows that we do have something that we can offer the Guyanese people, an alternative vision to the Guyanese people, but not only alternative, because we give Jack his jacket. If the government has done anything good and we see something that needs continuation, something that needs improving on, we will continue to do it. So for example, education, the government decided free education for all. WIN will never go and change that policy. We will improve on it. The government spoke about paying for CSEC, 8 subjects per every Guyanese student. We would not one day go and reverse that decision. We support that decision. We will look to improve on it. Because We Care cash grant, 55,000. Azruddin Mohammed, the leader of Team WIN, has been speaking ad nauseum that we're going to improve on it. Old age pension, currently at $42,000. We're going to improve on that. And immediately, when you see our summarized version that comes out very soon, you're going to see immediate improvements within 100 days. Our disability grant, the monies for the CSOs, that is just some of them that I can list off of fingertips. Healthcare, where it's going, what we're doing for our healthcare workers, what we're doing for our teachers, what we're doing for public servants. We can tell you that immediately, and not waiting 8, 9 months after, like the incumbent government has done. They've promised you, and they've signed on to a memorandum of understanding with the union that represents public servants. And up to now, we cannot get our 8% that should have been paid since January. We will ensure that the good that is being done by the government is to be continued. Our voting public is spread across the length and breadth of Guyana. So when, for example, we were in the Berbice area, and you're from the Berbice area, Ms. Rose, the sugarcane workers that came out to our meetings, they wanted to know what will WIN be doing for the sugarcane workers and the sugar industry in general. We made it absolutely clear that we will not be closing down any of the estates that are currently functioning. What we will look at is overhauling the management aspect of it and looking to diversify, even if away from sugar, the use of the lands that we have there in Berbice, giving priority to those who would have served in the sugar belt and in Gaisuku for a number of years. They will get the first option.
Good, thanks. Folks, you're listening to Globespan Television, and I can tell you I have a number of questions here, 21 questions. But folks, bear with me. I cannot ask Dr. France all these questions, but I'll try to ask as many as possible. Can you explain if renegotiation of the oil contract is on WIN's agenda? And I know Mr. Mohammed, he spoke about cost of living is too high, corruption is rampant, and so forth. On his agenda, did he explain how we will reduce cost of living, how we will reduce or end corruption, and the oil contract, will you renew that?
We cannot let the cat out of the bag until the official manifesto is out. But I can tell you something. Renegotiation of the oil contract is something that not us at WIN will decide on, but it's something that we've discussed a whole lot, and we have decided that it is the people of Guyana who must decide on if the oil contract must be renegotiated. And we know what the Guyanese public think about this. So we will be looking at a legal means of having a referendum by a competent agency in keeping with our laws. So whether it is GCOM and whether we go to which law permits for a referendum, because that aspect needs to be clarified, we will be looking with Team Win to have a referendum on whether or not we should renegotiate the oil contract. Based on the response of the people, which I know will be overwhelmingly yes, we will then officially ask of the oil majors to come to the table. That is the policy that is going to be put forward. Now, they can choose to come or they can choose not to come with an explanation. But we have already seen the contract being negotiated, certain aspects of the contract. So when people talk about sanctity of contract, and when people speak that you're unable to go and renegotiate, that is just a big foe in terms of their thinking. But we've already changed certain aspects of the contract, and they have agreed for those changes. Now, you are going to tell the Guyanese people, the majority of the Guyanese people, if they do ask, and I'm saying when they do ask for renegotiation, that you're not going to come to the table. Win is not going to force your hand. We're not going to do anything unilaterally. When we have this referendum, and I'm going to challenge all Guyanese there, all of Guyana will have an adequate chance to be educated on the pros and the cons of renegotiation. So when you have that referendum, when you vote yes or no, it would be after education by all, whether it is political parties, whether it is civil groups, whether it is NGOs, you must know what exactly is at stake. We will not have misinformation as is coming from the incumbent government that, oh, if you go and renegotiate, you will do it unilaterally, and then the same thing that has happened in Venezuela will happen to us here in Guyana. No, you know what we're comfortable with? We are comfortable with 6 FPSOs coming on board by 2027 that will produce 1.2 million barrels of oil per day. That has a guaranteed investment already, 55 billion or more. That is going to double what we currently produce in the 650,000 that we currently produce. And so we can comfortably live with 6 FPSOs. What we will not do, and what the oil majors are trying to force the government right now to do, is negotiate a 7th, an 8th, a 9th, and a 10th FPSO under these same rules. We have the power of being able to bring them to the table that, hey, you already have 6 at favorable conditions. Now, if you want more, we're asking for you to come and give the Guyanese people more, because you're already making huge profits from the Starbucks block. All of the co-venturers, your books, we've seen their books, we've seen the numbers, we've been guided by experts, and that is why our manifesto is not just something that has come from us here at ANUG or us at WIN. We have been speaking with experts all over in terms of what is best for Guyana. So renegotiation is not up to WIN alone. The Guyanese people will decide on that, and they will have an adequate chance to be educated on the pros and cons of it. Now, you mentioned corruption and how we can improve on anti-corruption measures. If the government of the day decides that it is so important, after having denied that there's corruption in Guyana, but having been proven on numerous occasions that corruption does exist, including in the police force, including in the award of contracts, state contracts, I come from ANUG. I come from a party that has always pushed for transparency and accountability. We believe that once you have the chance of having a minority government at the very least, or if you have control of parliament, there is so much that you can do to change the makeup of the state boards, the makeup of the state agencies, that will allow for better transparency. And so our famous 2+2+1 formula, whereby you have everyone being represented, and by being represented on those boards, you must have consultation and collaboration amongst opposing sides, that there will be much more transparency. And so, for example, NPTAC, the organization that the government right now try to limit the opposition's involvement in how it is made up, that will not happen. And that will go across the length and breadth of Guyana, all of the state boards, all of the state agencies. We will make it transparent simply by having the makeup and reducing the powers of those who appoint the persons to the state board. So, for example, Guy and the minister's power to put who must be there and who must be the chair, if we take that away from the minister and allow it to be a decision that is made, for example, by Parliament, and this is where constitutional reform comes in. And this aspect of constitutional reform only needs a minority government, only needs simple majority for things to be changed. There is so much that could be done. And so it starts with having, at the very least, a minority government, which we at WIN know is already guaranteed based on our numbers. We are much more than that now, though. We are looking to win the plurality, and we are looking to win outright based on the support and the response that we have gotten from the Guyanese people. And once we have a say, once we have a chance to make that decision, Guyana will benefit. The third aspect in your question was what can...
Cost of living.
Cost of living. Okay. We know that there are internal and external factors that affect the prices of goods and services in your country. And yes, we have been buffeted by the wars that have been happening. We have been buffeted by the trade wars that are going on, which are not the actual wars. And these, the COVID pandemic, and these have affected the import of raw materials that are, and other goods that are very important for us here. But we are living in the breadbasket of the Caribbean. We know that once you give enough to our local producers, once you can stabilize the cost of doing business, and one of the major impediments there is the energy cost, that you can bring down the cost of production. And by virtue of bringing down the cost of production, you can improve production and have more goods and services, but mostly goods, especially food in the agriculture area, because that is where we have lots of arable land. You can bring down the prices that we're currently facing. We have seen none other than the Guyana Marketing Corporation that keeps track of prices across the length and breadth of Guyana of some of the major products, admitting that from 2020 to 2025, we have seen a 75% increase in the cost of fruits and vegetables, foods across Guyana. And these are things that are produced here locally. Now, we've also seen the numbers from the budgets that our public servants have gotten 46% cumulatively increase in terms of your salaries. So if your costs of living, which you're just guided by the prices of food here we looked at, there are other things that are affected. If your cost of living has increased by 75% and you've only gotten a 46% increase in your wages, then clearly there is a deficit and more must be done. But more importantly, when we talk about numbers, people don't see the real deal. And unless you go out into the communities, unless you mesh with the average man and woman on the street, then you know who really are suffering here in Guyana. Because there's a facet that things are so wonderful in Guyana because we have a booming economy. Our GDP is amongst the highest in the world, right? We're going to grow for the next 5 years, according to the IMF, on average 10.5 to 11%. But is that reflective of what the average man and woman is experiencing? And the answer is no. We have lots and lots of Guyanese that are still on the breadline, that are still living from paycheck to paycheck, and that needs more government intervention to help them. And this government has already started. So when you look at farm to market roads and the opening of agricultural lands, that is why I'm saying we will not go and just reverse the things that are being done. What we will do, however, is build on this. So the taxes that you're paying to rent the lands, looking at those large renters of land who have gotten leases from the government and then they're subletting those lands. So for example, the rice farmers, and charging them $50,000 per acre per year, right? We will look at ways and means within the law that we can address same and ensure that our people who are here in Guyana have the best opportunity to get into agriculture, to get into small businesses, to get into manufacturing, and so improve that which we offer to the Guyanese people. That will reduce cost of living and mitigate many of those external factors as much as possible.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for that answer. Now, I have a question here, which it's a bit tricky to ask, but I will ask it anyway. Some have put forward the notion that Mr. Mohammed was sanctioned by the United States, which is a fact. And if anyone joined with him, he or she will be visas will be taken away, or if they don't have a visa, they will not be granted a visa. Do you know if there's any truth behind this?
I had a program with Mr. Freddie Kissoon, a couple of weeks ago, where I addressed the OPAC sanctions that Mr. Azzuddin Mohammed is facing. We know that the only way you can be effective is if you have financial transactions with sanction agents or their businesses, and or if you're involved in transactions that include US currency. Now, what this government has done, and they're trying to do effectively, because it's very ineffective what they've done, is try to sell to the Guyanese people that by virtue of supporting a sanctioned individual, that you will be sanctioned. Now, with regard to your visa, that has not anything to do with your OFAC sanction, because there's another Department of State of the US that looks at visa and visa repercussion. So that is an entirely different story. Yes, the state agencies do work together and they share information and they liaise in terms of how they work. But no one will have their visa taken away. And I'm not saying this as Dr. Mark Vance. I'm saying this quoting exactly from the representative of the United States here in Guyana, the Honorable Ambassador, who has said clearly that we don't just take away your visa because you're associated with, you vote with, or you support. What you cannot do is act as an intermediary for the sanction agents for them to receive funds. What you cannot do is have business dealings with them directly. And so the average man and woman in Guyana, of which ANUG and its members are, have nothing to fear as long as we have no financial dealings with sanctioned individuals. And we have made this very clear as a political party that we're going to work with this grouping. We're going to offer what we can offer in terms of expertise, electoral expertise, in terms of policies, in terms of what we can bring to the grouping. We are not looking for anything financial in return. What we're looking for is to be a part of this grouping that put forward these policies that will help the Guyanese people and improve their lives.
Good. The question of sanctions on the right to association, I want to let our listeners know that the United States Constitution has a clause in it which gives persons the right to associate, the right to association. And that is also enameled into the United Nations Charter, the right to associate with person or persons. So I don't think there's any discrepancy about that at all. Now, my next question to you is this. You mentioned earlier at the top of the show that Mr. Mohammed is having large crowds. Today he had a large crowd at the nominations and so forth. And he said it was very, very large, but are you aware though that crowds don't actually translate or convert into votes?
Thank you. I just want to add one more thing. Guyana is a sovereign nation, guided by our Bible, which is our Constitution. Our Constitution that allows for freedom of expression, freedom of association, and the right to be part of any grouping. That takes precedent over any other arrangement from any other foreign entity or country.
Yeah.
And so we must respect our laws here. And until our law says that Mr. Mohammed or any other individual cannot aspire for office, even if it's the highest office, which is president of the land, we're guided by our Constitution. Now, we come to the aspect of crowds and support at elections. And you know what? We've had robust discussions within our very own executive before making the decision to join Team Win that, oh, we've seen this before. And the answer that has always come up is, y'all know CN Sharma. Y'all know the man who had the Justice for All party and was very helping to persons who were less privileged, had lots of support on the ground, but it never really translated into support at the elections. The difference with Mr. Sharma and what we've seen today is Mr. Sharma never had cross-country appeal like what Team Win currently have. When you go to every single region, every single community, persons out there are begging and asking of the leader of Team Win, Azzuddin Mohammed, to run for president. Now, the only other time we have seen such a groundswell was in 2005 when the AFC was formed. And Dr. Rose, you more than many know of the support that the AFC got 2005, 2006. We have seen similar crowds, and now I would dare say even larger crowds supporting Team Win, evidenced by, and I'm going to mention, all of our campaign meets, which are meet and greets for now, in all of the regions. Every time you go in every village, you're seeing 50, 60, 100, 200 persons coming out to support you. Now, we had 3 events recently that confirms that which I know to be true, is that WIN is very successful and going to be very successful in September 1st, 2025. We went to an event up the Berbice River. Maybe it's because Dr. Francis from the Berbice River, and I got a lot of family and friends still living there. We happened to pass at a public event that all of the river, Kokwani, Linden, Amsterdam persons from Georgetown attended. And the overwhelming support that the persons there give to Mr. Mohammed and Team Win, taking pictures, coming and say hello, saying we support you, continue to run, keep up the good work. That only give us more energy and the drive to do more. Now, that was replicated tenfold last Saturday in Linden when we had a parade in the mining town of Linden. We saw a multitude of persons from all walks of life across the entire region come out to support the opening of an office. It was not even a full campaign rally. The opening of an office by Team Win in the mining town of Linden on the Wismar Shore at 1 Mile. That gives us even added belief. And when we said, okay, let's see what will happen on nomination day, today has confirmed to us in Team Win, and today has confirmed to the Guyanese people that Win is a force that must be taken seriously, that must be reckoned with, and that is here for the Guyanese people. And it was even proven yesterday when, of all the political parties that the PPP spoke about, the Team in Blue and its leaders and persons in the upper echelon were the talk of the town. Every single minister, every single person who spoke almost had something to say about Team Win. And if they're talking about us, it's because they're having sleepless nights about us. It's because they're worried about us and the potential that we have in changing what will happen in September 2025.
But as you said, when crowds don't really translate into votes, but we don't know as yet. This might be
yeah, but what I'm telling you, the other example that we have is the AFC. In 2006, they had 5 seats. In 2011, 7 seats, right? When they were robbed 1. In 2015, they joined with the ANUG coalition and they were able to win the majority. So we have seen similar crowds and it has translated to seats already. Now, this grouping that we have, you've never seen such a crowd with the AFC before, the one that we had today, that crowd on the seawall today. So clearly, this is something with a difference. And you know why? It is important to note the crowd that support Team Mohammed. It's a total representation of Guyana. You have Indo-Guyanese, you have Afro-Guyanese, you have Indigenous Guyanese, you have the young, you have the not so young, you have the elderly, you have the disenfranchised, you have persons who secretly support us but refuse to come out because they're afraid of losing their job, they're afraid of being seen associated with ANUG and WIN. We have support across the length and breadth of Guyana, and this is something that is only going to multiply. We now have serious work to do. We have serious work to do to ensure that the entire Guyanese population buys into that which we stand for as a grouping, that they are able to educate other Guyanese that change is going to happen and change is possible, and we must come out and vote. We've already seen the cries of the PPP in saying that, oh, they're going to try to bring out everyone to vote because they're insecure in their promises again that they're going to have a landslide. And so they have changed that narrative from a landslide from 40 plus seats to, oh, we might win, but not with a majority. That is the reflection that is out there.
Now, having said that, I think this phenomenon we're seeing with Mohammed here is a replicate of Walter Rodney in the 70s, late 70s, I think. But that said, that was in the past. Now, my next question to you, which is a projection. Do you think Team Mohammed win and ANUG combined? By the way, our other parties will become part of WIN? Do you know?
That is a decision for the executive team, Win. But currently, as things stand, because we've submitted our list, because we've
Right,
submitted our
right,
symbol,
right.
any other group in our party that wants to work with Team Win will have to come on board now, and those individuals will not have a chance to, for example, go on our list because that is done. But they can still work along. And of course,
Okay,
nothing is closed off. So another option that may be out there sometime later for discussion, and I think it's something that must be explored, is the join the list option. And there's a
okay,
stipulated timeline by which parties can sign on to join the list. Again, that is for the executive of WIN to decide on.
right. Now, in 2015, it was APNU plus AFC. With you joining with WIN, it will be WIN plus ANUG?
No,
What
it
it
has
will be?
already been well ventilated that we have joined to work under the WIN banner.
Okay,
We
so
still
it's going fully
maintain
under the WIN
levels of
banner.
independence. Yes, we're all under the WIN banner. It is not, and that is why it's not a coalition. It's not ANUG slash WIN or WIN slash ANUG. It's WIN, but ANUG working under that banner.
Okay, good. So, okay, that's different. Now, this projection, the projection I'm about to ask you here, and no one knows what the future holds when it comes to politics because I think two things. All politics is local, number one. And number two, a week is a long time
Can
in
she?
politics. Things can change. And we have seen that in Canada recently with the Conservatives and the Liberals. In January of this year, in February of this year, the Conservatives were leading the Liberals by almost 10, 15 percentage points. But as soon as Justin Trudeau resigned and gave it to Mark Carney, that switched around. And Carney came back and beat the Conservative Party within a matter of 2 months by almost 3 to 4%. So we saw a full 10 to 40% swing in Canada there with the votes. Now, my question to you is this. As I said, this is based on a projection. Do you think WIN could win the next election?
You mentioned a weekend politics, and I'm well read. I love to follow world politics, and so the example I'm going to make here to the Guyanese public is Mauritius. Mauritius, sometime last year, had the election, and they have had sterling improvements post COVID. The government had a historic agreement whereby they got back an island from Britain, but high-handedness in the government. And 1 week, or it was 2 weeks before the election, they chose to censor internet activity, to shut down the internet after having led throughout the campaign. They suffered because of that decision. And that's why when you say 1 week is a long time in politics, it indeed is. And as a result, they lost overwhelmingly to the opposition at that elections in Mauritius last year. Now, we have crunched our numbers. We have done our surveys. WIN has done surveys even before ANUG decided to collaborate with them. But conservatively looking how things are, we're guaranteed that there will be, at the very least, a minority government come 2025, September the 2nd. But we are going for much more than that. We at WIN now believe that we can win it all. We believe that a plurality is well within our reach once we can get our message out there to the Guyanese public and ensure that they come out and support and vote in historically high numbers. We know the plurality is possible, but we're not settling for the plurality anymore. We're going for the outright win, and that is why it's team win. We are going to look to shake up the apple cart, turn it over if we have to, and go for the outright win, as any political party with groundswell would do. You look to win everything. Now, you mentioned numbers, and I mentioned that there were surveys that were done. Looking at how things stand currently, I can tell you, based on the response we've gotten, 9 of the 25 geographical seats looks as if they're going to win. Let the opposition go out there and find out in which regions they're coming from and how they're coming. And of the proportional representation system, we're already seeing about 101,000 votes that will give us 22, 23 seats currently. But that is not enough for us. We're going for the outright win. And I apologize sometimes to the largest opposition because a lot of the inroads that we've made is in the strongholds of the APNU or PNC party. Now, again, Politics is something that can change dramatically, and a week is a very long time. But where we currently stand, we see ourselves as possibly being the largest opposition, but going for the plurality and the outright win within the next 6 weeks.
If you should win the plurality of the votes, which gives you a minority government, which party would you try to collaborate with in order to get bills passed in Parliament?
The answer to that question, the official answer to that question, is for the executive of Win to decide. We will, as a team, decide on how we work with other parties. Now, we have always called for the major groupings to work together. We believe that in the interest of the Guyanese people and the Guyanese public, that all parties must come together and plan holistically for the futures of ourselves and our kids. So you've seen mention of a 10 to 15-year development strategy, whereby it's not important who is in government. If there's agreement across the board that these are the major projects that should be looked at for the next 10, 15 years, because they're in the best interest of the Guyanese people, then it doesn't matter who is in government. What is important that all must be working together. And in a grouping today, I mentioned we will force the major groupings to come together, even if we take the majority, because we believe that all of Guyana must be working in the best interest of all Guyanese. That is the only way that we can become the Singapore, we can become the Rwanda, we can become Namibia, we can become Botswana, some of these other countries that have had positive growth and are seen as leaders in third world politics. We want Guyana to be the leader. Yes, we're leading in certain areas. When they speak about the LCDS and climate change and how we've shown Guyana on the map in this regard, we're leading for a small country, but we can lead much more. And our people here must benefit much more from the decisions that we make as a collective. For way too long, Dr. Rose, 59 years, we have seen a division with regard to work together for Guyana, even though 4 of the 5 years, you're all good. Everything is good. But when the election year comes, everything goes awry. Everything goes, oh, I'm PPP, I'm PNC, I was born this way, I was born that way. That is not how we want to see Guyana going into the future. We want us to work together, every one of the political parties. And so Win will be pushing for that.
That is true. Folks, while I welcome all questions, here is what I will not welcome. Any vulgarity. Don't send me your questions because I will instantly block you. Number 2, don't send me personal questions. We're dealing with political situations, deal with the public. Be mature enough to deal with the issues affecting the country and not personal issues. And vulgarity, I will not tolerate. So I hope you understand that. Folks, let's go to commercial. Stay tuned to Globespan Television. We'll be back in about a minute and a half. All from onesupplier.com. It's a place where you can get all your West Indian food, your groceries, everything. Roti, fish, curry, meat, you name it. You can get it from onesupplier.com. You can use your EBT, your credit cards, and your debit cards. We have home deliveries available. And your food can be delivered across the country, but in the state of New York, it will be done. And in the other states, New Jersey, neighboring countries, and so neighboring states and so forth. They're located at 10809 Liberty Avenue on Richmond Hill. The number is 718-551-3292. 718-551-3292. And as I said, they're having a duck curry versus curry duck competition in Mexico. Details to follow. I will get you the details next week, but be in tune to that. Now, Globespan, my favorite. I have over 31 years experience in traveling, business, first class, you name it. Globespan will at least end all your problems when it comes to traveling. Leave all your problems to Globespan. You can call them for upcoming tours to Dubai, India, South Africa, Norway, and many other countries, including the European countries as well. Located at 10809 Liberty Avenue in Richmond Hill, and the phone number is 718-845-0437. That's in New York. In Georgetown, 227-1701. Rosalton, 337-4287. We also have offices in Chagunas in Trinidad and Tobago, 665-3383. And in Val Park in Trinidad, 645-1604. Folks, we're asking all of you, all the business people, to support Globespan because we're the only network that is fair and balanced and bring you the interviews as they appear, as the person express themselves. So please, once again, go to our website and support Globespan Television. We need all support as possible, financial support to keep this program going. Thank you very much for that. Now, Dr. Franz, going back to ANUG and WIN. You have said that you're all going for an all-out win. But the truth is, but then again, this is history. These are facts, but these are facts that can be changed. No third party has ever won an election in Guyana. I'm not saying that WIN cannot, but the odds are against WIN to do so. Now, and WIN could change that phenomenon come September 4th. They could be the third party in history to win an election in Guyana. Now, what steps WIN will have to take in order to shake off that old bothersome that third parties can win an election in Guyana and win this election outright?
We live in some very important times. About 10 years ago, 10 years, 15 years, we saw a phenomenon taking over the world, the Arab Spring, the uprisings in the Arab countries, whereby governments that have been in place for a number of years, leaders who were entrenched in powers, were taken out by the people. We are having our own Arab Spring here in Guyana right now. We know that, yes, traditionally, third parties have not been able, and this is across the Caribbean, it's not just Guyana, across the Caribbean, to step up and win any election. We've seen in other countries, for example, the Suriname example that is out there, the third parties do have a huge say in what happens in elections. And based on their system, they're able to, after the election, work together, coalesce, and get the government in. But there is always a time for one to be the first. History will always decide that. But who will decide? It's not for WIN to decide what will happen. Yes, the work that we put in, our policies that we give to the Guyanese people, how we sell those policies to the Guyanese people, how we explain them to the Guyanese people. But it is Guyana that will decide the direction that our country goes for the next 5 years. It is Guyanese 18 years and above, but I'm going to say even younger, because when we go out there and we speak, we're not speaking just to adults. We speak into the babies. We speak into the young kids. We speak into all who can understand, because they will go home and say, you know what, mommy? I saw Dr. Franz come and shake my hand, and he said that he wants to see what's good for me for the future. And because of that, please support him. And when you listen to your own, when you listen to your people, and this is something that Azrael Muhammad has been doing for the longest while, especially the last 3-4 years, listen to the Guyanese people. And guess what? ANUG has brought that slogan, because ANUG and our cell phone listen to the Guyanese people. We have decided that it is important to listen to the Guyanese people, to have policies that are formulated around the issues that Guyanese people actually face, to look after the interests of Guyanese first and foremost. That is why we must not say that we're only for the Guyanese people, because we're part of the world, and the world is small, especially with social media and the internet. The world is very small. Today, and I'd like to apologize on behalf of Team WIN. Today at the little parade that we have, there was a young man who came on board and spoke about the Venezuelan population and something to the effect that we must chase them out. No, we're a country that is accepting to all. Once you adhere to our rules and regulations, as with any law-abiding citizen or any country that has rules and regulation, we do know that we need workers. The Guyanese economy needs 30 to 50,000 workers that Guyanese cannot fill those jobs. So we will be looking at our neighboring countries, we will be looking at the Caribbean and further afield, just as the government is looking for healthcare staff from Bangladesh and from India and from elsewhere, Cuba. We know that we have to bring in persons. We must respect the rights of those individuals. We must treat them fairly. We must ensure that they abide by the rules that govern us. Now, yesterday I spoke with my mom, and my mom is the typical Guyanese mom who is always worrying about what will happen. So you mentioned Walter Rodney and the possibilities of what was possible if Walter Rodney was alive to this day and probably in the late 80s. She said, son, be very careful. Tell your partner at Team Win to be very careful. And this is something that I want to go out there to the Guyanese public. Latin America and the Caribbean, we do not treat third groupings, upcoming leaders who may seem to want to upset the apple cart with a lot of respect. And sometimes what happens, Salvador Allende, Morris Bishop in Grenada, sometimes what happens and what happened to our own Walter Rodney, we have to learn from the past. He that forgets the past and the history of the past may live to root or may not even live to root in the future. So that is why my mommy, and she's always crying and saying, son, be careful, be careful, be careful. I have had many persons reaching out to me, Mark, I got your back. We support you. We see what you want to do. We know you care about the people of Guyana. We know that Az cares about the Guyanese people, but please be careful because anything can happen.
Okay, that's it. Now, in 2020, I think we had 3,900 plus polling stations across the country. I'm not sure GCOM improved, add more to those, or made some cutbacks. I haven't seen any numbers as yet. I tried to check GCOM website, and those numbers are not coming up. Now, will WIN have representatives at all those polling stations, all through the interior and the interlands?
We're in this for the big time, Dr. Rose. We are expecting GCOM to have about 2,500 polling stations. That's the rounded figure there, thereabouts.
They're reducing it from 2,900 to 29?
No. It was 2,300 and something, I think, at the last election. So it's going to probably increase by a few.
It was 25 to 39. Okay, go ahead. I'm not sure. Go ahead.
Whatever the number is.
Right.
Today, when we submitted our list of candidates, which we're going to see when they publish it once it's accepted officially and if there's any correction to be made, the usual process, you're going to see a wide array of persons representing all of Guyana. We are taking part in every single region. We are taking part in all of the RDC areas, right? We're taking part in everything to do with regional and national or general elections. We know how important it is, given everything that happened in 2020, to be vigilant, to ensure that you have boots on the ground. And this is not taking the boots on the ground from the PNC that they spoke about, especially with the teacher strike. We want to have persons representing WIN and Guyana, more importantly, because we want each and every citizen's choice in whomever they vote for to be reflected in the outcome of the results. So every single polling station in Guyana will have representatives of WIN. We will have all our counting agents. We will have all our supernumerary agents. We will have all of our other agents that we need. And we will be crisscrossing this country on the 1st of September. But we can't do it alone. And we will be asking of the Guyanese people who want to see change, who want to support WIN, to come on board. And we have gotten a resounding answer already from persons across the length and breadth of Guyana wanting to be involved with WIN, wanting to play whatever role they can, even if it's just being a polling agent or a counting agent or whatever role they can play on election day. Not everyone is willing to openly come out and support Team WIN, because of where they work, because of their fear of victimization, because they feel they may be sidelined or harassed by the incumbent or their representatives. Dr. France is not afraid. And probably, as I told someone in the upper echelons of ANUG long ago, maybe because I have nothing to lose but my life. And if I have to lose my life representing the Guyanese people and being a martyr for third party politics and what we want to see, the positive change in Guyana, even that may be worth it.
Well, that dovetails with the old saying or the adage that if a man doesn't discover something worthwhile to die for, he isn't fit living. So maybe that's what you're telling us
Most
here.
certainly.
Uh,
Most certainly.
we're coming to the end of the program. My final question to you is this. When, as I said, is a new party on the block, and we have to acknowledge that it's attracting a large audiences wherever it goes and so forth. But the question is, should win the election? Does it have the experienced people or capable people to run this country? But given the fact that we have all these resources, it's a question I'm asking. I'm not saying they don't have it. I'm asking you if you know Win has such qualified people, experienced people to run this country.
We would not be taking up this challenge of trying to run the country if we don't believe in ourselves, if we don't believe in our partners who are willing to work with us, if we don't believe that we have an alternative to offer to the Guyanese people. And so, yes, we believe that we have enough of a structure within the WIN grouping of which ANUG is working to effectively run this country. But more importantly, as I did mention, we also believe in the right in having the best Guyanese patriots and persons who are willing to work for their country. It does not matter which party you support, which organization you support, but if you care about Guyana and you want to see Guyana doing well, you would be willing to work with Team Win. And so we will not go because there is a change of government, getting you out of the office, because that has been the tradition that, okay, all the PSs are cleared out, all of the top positions are cleared out when another government comes in place. If you are willing to work for Guyana, if you are willing to work on the WIN, if you are willing to work within the rules of Guyana and make the change that we want to see for Guyana, you will have your chance. It doesn't matter who you support. WIN is about Guyana. And that must be the message that is taken away tonight. WIN will be offering each and every Guyanese citizen a chance to be a leader, a chance to be a representative of the people, a chance to bring about that change for the betterment of our kids, our country, and the wider world of which we are a part. WIN is in this for the big time. We are here to win. We are here to lead by example. We are here to work for the betterment of all Guyanese.
Good. Let me just wrap this question by you. Now, I stand corrected here. Tell me the names for all polling districts have been published. Am I right? And they're listed at all polling. Have you all checked the names there to see how many people have been listed in various districts? And did a tabulation to know how many people are registered to vote across the country?
That is information that is already out there. 718,000 persons.
Pardon me?
718,000 persons.
No, that can't be registered people to vote.
That is the latest list that is out there from GCOM. That is after the shortened claim and the objections period that they have out there.
That is the list put out at each polling stations, total across
That is the list that is available on GCOM right now. Yes.
How a country with about 800,000 people have 718,000 people voting?
Dr. Rose, we all know why. Even though that list is 718,000 in a population that is quoted as being somewhere around 820, 850,000 persons, of which 205,000.
March figures show that we got just about 796,000. That is not, it is not increased.
Of which 205,000 are children of school age, meaning 18 years.
250,000 are children of school age.
Well, the cash grant that we're guided by that was paid out recently, 205,
Okay, fine.
206,000.
Okay, fine.
And the majority of the persons who will make consistent extra are persons who belong to the diaspora, persons who are not in Guyana, persons who are unable to come off of the list given the rules that govern same. Now, we respect the laws of Guyana. We respect the rules that exist currently with regard to how your name can be taken off. We do believe that there must be improvements, better inter-country information should be shared, maybe looking to have some sort of constitutional reform with regards to GCOM and that process whereby you can have
I agree. I agree.
an
It's
ability to
ridiculous.
sanitize your list.
It's
But that is
ridiculous
something
to
that
put a
will be
list out
addressed
there.
in the future. Electoral reform is part of one of the main pillars of constitutional reform that we have proposed in our manifesto
I
for
agree.
the improvements of systems in Guyana.
Yeah, I only totally agree with that. Now, as I said, it's ridiculous to have that, but the point remains though is that in 2020, if I'm not mistaken, I think about 475,000 people voted. So I think in this election year we should expect about 490 to 495,000. Might just be below 500,000 will be voting,
We
unless
have calculated around
there's a large
500,000.
influx of Venezuelans who have been given ID cards and registered to vote, then that might boost the number up to 500 something thousand. But I think if that's the case, that is wrong because you don't bring people to vote in your country just because of you want to win an election when those people have no interest in your country. But the point remains with though is that the electoral system has to be reformed. It has to be
Most
reformed. It
certainly.
is ridiculous to know that we have got just under 800,000 people, and you're telling me that 718,000 people based on the list GCOM put out. Something will be wrong with GCOM. Anyway, that's the topic for another discussion. Oh, as we come to the end of this program, I want to thank you very much. But before I do so, I would invite you to have your closing remarks.
Thank you very much. I just want to clarify, well, not clarify, share some more information. We have seen the migration numbers being about 4,700, 5,000 persons every year that are leaving Guyana. We know that the majority of these are Indo-Guyanese or of Indo-Guyanese ancestry. So let's say about 2/3 or a little more than half of 25,000 for the last 5 years would have left. And I feel this is one of the major reasons why the census information has not come out. We've also seen the government through their relevant agencies declare that we've had about 50,000, if not more, persons coming into Guyana elsewhere, mostly from Venezuela. Many of those are persons who may have Guyanese parentage or have gotten Guyanese citizenship or the ability to get an ID card. Now, that is a crucial voting block. That is a voting block that each and every political party will target. That is a voting block that the Win Party has already begun to target. We have a huge traction amongst those persons who speak Spanish. I am so glad that I studied in Cuba, that I am able to speak Spanish when I go out and speak with them. And you will see coming onto our campaign, when I start speaking Spanish and appealing to this sizable voting block, the messages that will go out there, not from myself only, but from the general Win grouping. We must make sure that once our law permits you to have a say in what happens in the country that you live in, it doesn't matter if you speak Spanish, if you speak Portuguese, if you speak English. We've also seen an influx of persons from Commonwealth countries, Nigeria, India, the Caribbean countries here in Guyana, who after having spent 1 year are eligible for some amount of documentation that may permit them to vote at the elections. We also have to target those populations. So it is very important for our grouping to be prepared for elections, appealing to everyone and looking to do the best for everyone. That is where we'll be going. In closing, I must say, Guyana, the times of change are here. You are able to feel it. You, by virtue of looking at the television, by virtue of being on social media, you are seeing change right in front of your eyes. I love, maybe because I studied in Cuba, I love to use the R word. This is a revolution that is happening in front of your very eyes. I have always said this revolution is being and will be televised. And it is a revolution for you, the people. It is a revolution that is being led by you, the people, for you, for your kids and the kids of your kids and the future of Guyana. It is very important that you support us. It is very important that you tell your friends, you tell your families, you share information with regard to Team Win and what we have to offer. Yes, you can consider everything else that is being put forward by all of the other candidates. But our message, once it resonates with you, once you take it and you think that it is a message of hope for Guyana, because 59 years of the same two groupings have not helped Guyana sufficiently, this is a message of change that you must take. And come September the 1st, and in the next 6 weeks, it is important that you educate each and every individual, both 18 years and above, but more so even the younger kids, because they must have a say. They must know what is in it for them, because it is their future that is at stake. It is for their parents, their grandparents, and their relatives to seriously consider what is it that you want for Guyana. And if for the last 59, 60 years, both groupings have not adequately addressed your problems and have not given to the masses that which they should have, then it is time to change. And we ask you to support us. We at Team Win calling you to support us, because in supporting us, you're supporting yourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Marks, friends. Folks, we have come to the end of the program, another edition of Globespan Television here on Monday night. And if it's Monday night, your host is me, Dr. Asquith Rose. I must thank Mr. Noir Singh for making this program available, and Mr. Devin Bissoon and Mr. Ryan Gobin, our two technical directors. I want to thank all our sponsors for supporting us and our listeners for tuning in every week. We depend on you. We ask you to, at all times, listen to us, because this is where you'll get the facts. We are a fair and balanced network. We don't take sides. We make sure that all our viewers are treated with respect, our guests the same, and we therefore thank you for tuning in tonight. Next Monday, we'll have another edition of this program, and the guest will be announced in the coming week. So be in tune for next Monday. Every week from now on, we'll be having someone in the political arena. And I think 2 weeks before the election, we will be broadcasting every night around the same time from 7:30 to 9, with our guests going through until the end, until September 4th. So once again, thank you very much, and I hope you have a restful rest of the evening. Thank you once again. And again, thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Mark, friends. Thanks very much.
Thank you to Mr. Nohar Singh and team there at Globespan, and of course, the great work that you're doing.